What's up, guys? This is Anime Crossover. I'm back with a new episode of Fight of Naruto Went to the Marvel Universe Part 10. And if you did enjoy the video, give this video a like, and if you're new to my channel and like more content, subscribe and hit the notification bell for more crossover pickings. Now let's begin this new video.
Chapter 11. Discovered the Pacific Ocean Center. S.H.I.E.L.D. received the unofficial moniker, Excessive Agency of Paranoia, due to its director's fixation with knowing everything and everyone who might damage Earth and mankind. So much so that the CIA and its subdivisions planted covert bases all across the world. One of its agents was standing on the main deck, smoking a cigarette to unwind after a long day at the S.H.I.E.L.D. outposts camouflaged as an offshore oil rig. One of the benefits of being sworn in as a secret agency agent. I like this. No trouble, no villains, just a simple desk job monitoring the sea and nothing else. Except for any indication of possible attacks from the undersea city of Atlantis due to its ruler's shaky peace with the surface world. Nothing else? His eyes caught something in the corner and he squinted to get a better look, but he couldn't because of the heavy mist. The S.H.I.E.L.D. jockey dashed inside and emerged with a pair of binoculars, which he used to see what the thing was, and he was astounded.
The jockey spotted the silhouette of a two-mast ship with its sails out sailing on the Pacific Ocean, though he couldn't see it clearly. He gulped, his fingers trembling as he tried to shake off his anxieties with the binoculars.
The outline quickly vanished in the far horizon traveling west, and the jockey exhaled a sigh of relief as one of his pals came out and observed his current condition. "Hey, is everything all right?" When his companion took a closer look, he discovered he was pallid. "Are you sure? You look like you've seen a ghost." "I think I just got lucky with the ghost ship," mumbled the jockey as he walked slowly back inside the rig. "Huh." The friend searched the sea for whatever had frightened his terrified partner. "Where exactly is it?" TTIIPMX. Meanwhile, Yamatai's solary fortress. "Just keep running. Don't stop. Sam, where are you?" "Why?" The three and now former hostages were divided as they departed the tunnels in different paths after a rescue attempt went horrifically wrong when one of the vents detonated due to Patronus's errant explosive tag. The heroes, on the other hand, escaped the steps to find and rescue Sam while avoiding being roasted or crushed by the palace's flaming debris. The same could not be said for the solary they encountered while being crushed or incinerated.
When Patronus blocked Lara from moving farther, they were forced to run outside and climb up a rugged wall to an upper level before scaling the side to the far left.
Patronus gestured to the ledge when she looked at him. "Watch," yelled a blazing solary before plunging off the balcony, straight to his demise. "Go, go," the trio yelled as they ascended the ledge and rushed across the wooden balcony, eventually arriving at a flaming room. Before she dashed to the table, Lara observed a wall covered with photos and the words, "No one leaves," inscribed in black bold letters.
"Lara, what are you doing?" Patronus asked as she shuffled around with the images. "There's no place for scapbooking."
Lara showed the cloaked ninja a photo of a certain unpleasant man in tatters. "That's Matthias." She noticed the writing on the wall. "No one leaves. That's what we heard in Japanese before the plane crashed." "What does that old bastard know?" Patronus wondered as he joined Lara in her search for a clue on the wall. There's a lot of reference to that ritual connected to Himiko.
Why is Mathis so interested in it? Lara wondered as she examined the wall even more attentively before taking a parchment. "Let's find out in a better location." "Agreed," Patronus replied as Captain slapped a piece of debris away with his shield.
After climbing to the second-floor roof, the trio took their formation as Patronus led the way down and across a zipline to the flaming west tower. When they got to the end of the balcony, the solary from the east building began fire on them.
"Don't let any outsiders near the vessel." Lara's fire arrows took out the solary couple as they fell off the structure in favor of putting out the flames, although in terror. Patronus motioned for Lara to go first, and she leapt the gap before ascending a rugged wall, followed by the heroes as they walked a non-burning corridor lined with statues. They rounded the corner and were met by a man in his late 40s with shoulder-length hair and a matching mustache, spectacles, and a vest over a long-sleeved shirt and blue pants. "Lara, you're alive," he exclaimed, surprised.
"So, how are you? I mean, how are you doing? What happened?" Lara inquired. "Once they stopped seeing me as a threat, they let me move about almost freely," Whitman said, though Naruto wasn't sure if he was upset at Lara. Lara typed in her response, "Did you know the others were captured?" Yes, yes. Sam's in there, but I couldn't free her without a weapon, Whitman said as the three of heroes prepared to proceed. These Solari are an anthropological marvel, Lara.
Patronus looked at the man before turning to face a depressed captain. Did he really just say that? Tell me I heard wrong.
They're insane murderers, Dr. Whitman. Lara declared emphatically. We need our people to get out of here. Of course, I'll keep an eye on you three. Whitman mumbled as he started to walk away from them. You call me when you're sure it's safe. With that in mind, the trio made their way to the room at the end of the corridor while Matthias spoke loudly. I don't think you understand, the Solari chief remarked soothingly. You have been chosen, Samantha. This is a great honor for you, for all of us. The trio spread out behind the pillars as they approached the unsuspecting Solari chief and his troops with caution. Some thought we'd never find you, but here you are. Please. Sam begged as Matthias intruded on her personal space while she was bound to a post. I know you think I'm special, but I'm not, and I don't want to be picked. Matthias laughed at her. This isn't about what you want. It's about what you are. Hamiko's blood runs through your veins. I think you know this, Samantha. He continued shouting about her specialness, nearly choking her when she disrespected him, as he soon disclosed about his numerous escape attempts. A Solari entered the room through another door. The fire is spreading, and the other girl, the S.H.I.E.L.D guy, and the hooded freak have all fled. At the name of Patronus, Matthias roared fiercely. This has to stop, he said as he turned to face the room's single Solari. Dimitri, you must guard her with your life.
Lara freed herself from the pillar and fired an arrow through Dimitri's chest as Sam looked up. Lara, oh my god, you're here. Sam sprang up and hugged Lara, who returned it tightly while Patronus and Captain secured the perimeter. I was beginning to think I was going crazy. Lara calmed her nerves by saying, it's going to be okay. It'll be okay. She saw her missing handgun, machine gun, and shotgun on Dimitri's body before retrieving them and placing the weapons on her person. We've got to get out of here before they come back.
Then let's get going, Patronus replied simply, motioning for them to follow. They changed their formation to put Sam behind Lara for extra protection as he came to a halt in front of the door. Yo, douche glasses. Lara and Sam laughed as they heard it. Where in the hell is he? Whitman emerged from the tunnel's far corner, his hands shackled. Run, all of you, run, he said as Matthias made his presence known. Get them. Matthias commanded his Solari to pursue the party. Captain escorted Sam back into the royal room. You two, get in here. 1 sec. Patronus said to Lara as she fired a support beam in the ceiling with her shotgun, obstructing the Solari's route. When a blazing pillar fell, blocking their path, they fled to the other side of the royal room. Cap, you got Sam? Affirmative. Captain replied as Sam yelled for Lara.
Don't worry, we'll find another way out. Lara reassured her companion as she and Captain dashed away from the palace. We've got company, she exclaimed after exercising her common sense.
Patronus gave a stiff nod. I see them. He extended his pivot blade and hidden blade, dashing at the Solari as he slashed their chests and drew blood from the fresh wounds. Meanwhile, Lara used her machine rifle to take down one Solari before directing the barrel at another who was preparing to slash at a distracted Patronus. She rolled away from her position as Lara put away her revolver in favor of her axe as she detected an impending explosion. Lara ran at him and smashed her axe into his chest, screaming in agony as she kicked his legs before another swing hit the jugular. Lara and Patronus finished the last Solari simultaneously, their weapons driving into the skull and torso, just as additional Solari burst in while the flames had spread to cover half the room, forcing them to flee.
As 4 Solari arrived to confront them, the two dashed through the hallway and down a flight of stairs. Patronus charged at 2 of them, tackling one to the wall and cutting at the other's shoulder with the pivot blade as Lara fired 2 shots at the remaining 2.
They continued on their journey until they came to the outside rain from the overcast darkness above. A Solari with receding white hair emerged from a nearby open building where a stationary machine gun was trained at them.
Go, find the chosen one, the Solari told his compatriots inside the tower, pointing the gun at them. These 2 are entirely mine. Lara's eyes widened not at the blazing rifle, but at Patronus, who shielded her with his body as the bullets rained down. She clenched her eyes firmly as she felt Patronus's body being pummeled by the machine gun, sorrowful and afraid at the loss of one of the island's strongest allies.
Ha 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 ha. The Solari fired the machine gun bullets into the outsider's back, mocking the hooded figure's determination to use his body as a shield to protect the girl. "Suffer for all that you've done to my brothers." As the Solari waited for the veil of dust that covered the two strangers, the machine gun stopped shooting owing to a lack of ammo. His joy was overtaken by shock when the dust vanished, revealing the perfectly intact and unhurt outsiders. Lara couldn't believe it because she was fine, as was Patronus, who stood in front of her and turned to face the stunned Solari. She noticed that his back was riddled with bullet wounds from the bombardment, but there was no blood. "Who are you?" demanded the Solari as a hook dug into his face. Patronus threw his rope dart and saw the Solari and machine gun fall to the ground before immediately rolling up the weapon and flicking the blood off.
Lara glanced at the hero's back, astounded at his unharmed condition. Was this one of Patronus's hidden skills, or is there something else going on here?
"Lara," Patronus remarked as he walked in front of her, holding something. "Lara." The astonished archer shook out of her trance as she accepted the attachment and realized it was a grenade launcher. "You already know what this is." Lara nodded as she connected the launcher beneath the machine gun's barrel and grabbed a grenade bag nearby. The pair climbed through the floor until they reached a dead end with a blocked door on the other side, which Lara blew up with her newly acquired weapon.
Holy crap, she's got a grenade launcher. Patronus grinned as he followed the archer inside and through a plaza as Lara fired 3 more explosives to take out the arriving Solari while he used his shuriken on the unfortunate who survived her strikes. As they scaled a rugged wall leading to a hole in a blazing building, they dashed through the burning corridors. Patronus and Lara observed Captain America and Sam down in Shantytown after blasting through a metal barrier, as the Avenger dealt with the Solari who attempted to approach Sam. "They're safe. Let's keep going," he said as Lara took the lead and he followed her.
They returned to Shantytown via zipline, and Patronus dispatched 3 Solari with a rapid palm strike, leg sweep, and triangle choke for each of them. Their work was not finished as they encountered another Solari who fired a hail of bullets from afar.
After dropping a smoke bomb in the middle of the path, the two scrambled onto a wall before Patronus hurled another explosive kunai at the Solari, who were being blown away from the force as more Solari arrived to take them down.
When Patronus and Lara realized there were too many, they descended down a zipline and saw Sam through a window-like opening in one of the walls. "Lara, come on, climb over," Sam exclaimed, plainly shaken by what had transpired. Lara made a shaky motion with her head. "Go to Roth and Grimm. Regroup with the others, but don't get on the helicopter," Lara implored again when Sam looked perplexed and disbelieving. "Just trust me, go. Cap." As Patronus took his turn, the Avenger took Sam's place. "Don't get on that helicopter yet, it could be shot down." "On it, and watch out, you two." Patronus returned the nod. Likewise, they said as the ninja and archer climbed up a nearby wall, crossed a zipline to the other side, and mounted a rugged wall to a window before entering.
Unbeknownst to them, a Solari from another open wall threw a bomb inside the room, igniting it and forcing them to scramble out. They made it out, but their vantage point gave them something concerning.
It was the search and rescue helicopter. "Oh, no, we have to stop them from getting on that helicopter," Lara exclaimed as they descended on a zipline that took them to the bridges. Patronus and Lara returned their gaze to Matthias, who stood away with 2 Solari beside him, sensing hostile sentiments. "Burn the bridges," says one.
"But we'll kill our own people," said the Solari on his right, before Matthias seized a rifle from the other Solari and shot him in the face. "Are there any more skeptics?" Patronus growled as he and Lara dashed across the bridge, pursued by a swarm of Solari. As a single bursting shockwave burst from behind the two, the bridge was rapidly pounded by rockets, shattering and burning the structure. Lara and Patronus both got it to the other side by grasping the ledge, but a flaming Solari had seized Lara's leg. "Let go," Lara said, shaking him off, but he wouldn't let go. "Your funeral," she yelled, ramming her axe into his head, causing him to let grip of her leg.
Patronus and Lara recovered after another round of jumping blazing bridges and falling slides on sections as they made their way into a building as they saw the chopper and heard Roth's voice on their radios. "We're under fire, everyone get to higher ground." Lara pulled out her radio, trying to derail the order because the exit was blocked by burning rubble. "Wait. The storms, it's too dangerous." She got no response as the aircraft flew away. "Roth? Damn it," says the narrator. Patronus called the Avenger as they climbed to the chopper. "Captain, Roth just ordered the helicopter to a different location. You can't let them board the plane because the storm will bring it down.
Equals, Sam and I aren't there yet, but you can bet they won't get on it. Equals.
10-4, Patronus said as they climbed to the tower, but the wall had crumbled due to an explosion. Oh crap. He recovered fast and sprang onto the platform, but Lara did not because she was holding onto the ledge. Here. After assisting her, the pair quickly mounted the tower's perilous and burning hurdles until they reached the roof, where Roth and Grimm awaited them inside the helicopter. Come on, you two. Hurry. Patronus sensed the roof was ready to fall as they were about to leap, so he grabbed the astonished Lara and pushed her inside the chopper. Lara returned her gaze just as the roof fell beneath Patronus's boots, hurling him to the ground. Patronus, she said as her gaze searched for his figure. It wasn't long before they discovered him standing up inside the structure. Patronus, hurry. Come on, lad, Grimm urged, frantically waving his hand. Patronus rushed across the flaming building platform before leaping for the helicopter, narrowly grabbing the legs as the structure behind him collapsed. Naruto stood up and exhaled loudly once he was inside. We've got to land this thing, warned the ninja. We have to land. We have to land or the storms will crash us, Lara warned, looking out the window and seeing her pals and Captain America protecting themselves against the approaching Solari. We can't just leave. We can't abandon them. Patronus remained inside the helicopter's fuselage, staring out the window as Lara and Roth attempted to persuade the pilot to land the aircraft. His senses suddenly heightened before the helicopter spun out of control and everything went black.
TDIIPMXDIPMXDIPM. Marsh at the summit. Yamatai Summit Forest. Naruto. Naruto, please get up. As Naruto opened his eyes and found himself on the muddy ground rather than inside the aircraft, the voices of Ashura and Kurama eventually woke him up. A grunt escaped his lips as he stood up and walked around the burning chopper before viewing the horrifying sight.
3 Solari bodies littered the area, including a dejected Lara and a frantic Grimm sitting next to an unresponsive Roth, with a hatchet in his back. No. Patronus exclaimed in surprise as he approached them gently.
The frenetic pace of the Endurance crew beat the ninja as Reyes kneeled next to Roth's body while Sam cared for Lara.
Are you okay, Lara? Sam inquired, clearly concerned. Reyes, on the other hand, was not pleased. Is she okay? Because it's all about Lara, isn't it? Patronus snarled at her tone and made a statement to the depressed Lara. Have you forgotten that she's the reason we're here? Grimm jumped to his feet, his gaze fixed on Reyes. Oi, that's uncalled for. That's not fair, Reyes, Sam replied before Patronus grabbed Reyes by the throat. What are you doing?
Let me go, Reyes yelled as his grip on her throat tightened. When she saw crimson eyes inside his hood, she stopped struggling. Let me go, she said quietly this time.
The cloaked ninja let go of her with a growl as he gazed at Reyes. You have no right to blame her, Patronus said, pointing to Lara, who flinched. She feels the pain 10 times more than anyone else. When Reyes looked at Lara, she saw a magnified agony in her eyes, which made her feel terrible. I should have said that, she murmured as she saw Patronus move Roth's body and drew out the hatchet, infuriating her. What are you doing? Sit there and be quiet, Patronus said angrily, telepathically silencing her. Can I use your chakra to heal him, Kurama?
Sigh Naruto, we have no idea what kind of reaction he'll have once exposed to my chakra. Then the tailed beast had an idea. Wait, don't you have the healing ointment from Old Man Six Paths?
You're right, Patronus said as he took out a little jar and rubbed the ointment on his back. Everyone stiffened as the hooded hero groaned before shuffling to the side, revealing Roth's wound was beginning to heal. It was healing in before of their eyes. Their horrified gazes returned to Patronus, who shifted Roth onto his back before raising his hand slightly. What the? Sam exclaimed as flickers of electricity flashed around the hero's hands. Lara, Patronus said as she turned to face him. How long has he been dead? And not for long. 2 minutes, I think. Patronus sighed deeply, placing his electrifying hands just above Roth's chest. I'm just using a small discharge. It's enough. He placed his hands on Roth's chest and unleashed a small discharge, causing his body to lurch. Come on, come on.
Yet another discharge. Come on, Patronus urged as Lara began to cry.
Another discharge occurred when Captain arrived on the site and observed the entire scenario. Patronus pounded his hands on the chest to send a somewhat larger discharge after another discharge and no response from Roth. Come on, you old bastard. The old man coughed as he tried to sit up straight, but Patronus gently pushed him down. Wroth. Both Lara and Reyes hugged the recently deceased guy, who grimaced at the contact. Everyone else, excluding Patronus and Captain, soon joined in the celebration. As Patronus sat next to Captain, he said, "Great work. Do you have any superpowers?"
Naruto, being the trickster that he is, soon devised a cover tale. He lied to the Avenger, saying, "No, inside my gloves are small machines that generate electricity given enough time. Despite the fact that I only had enough juice for one use, it's a good thing it didn't go to waste."
Captain looked at the novice hero and nodded in response. It wasn't long before the crew approached the heroes to thank one of them. However, it was Lara and Reyes who motioned for the savior to come to them, and he did. Patronus crouched in front of the weaker Wroth, who sat against a tree with Lara and Reyes on both sides. "How are you feeling?" "Aside from getting the electric chair, I'm fine," Wroth muttered, rubbing his chest. "Did I just hear you call me a old bastard?" Patronus crouched and uttered a "HMPH, really? I don't recall saying that." The crew, including Lara and Reyes, as well as the captain, laughed and snickered. "I think your old age is catching up with you, Wroth. Why don't you take a nap?" "Cheeky brat," Wroth said amusingly. "TTIIPMX TTIIPMX TTIIPM." After the ordeal, they decided to take it easy for a bit, and no one protested. Patronus took a vacant space to sit in peace and quiet as he sought to calm his anxiety, which was observed by the rest of the company. "What do you think he's doing?" Alex questioned Jonah, staring at Patronus back. "And how did he get through it?" Jonas shook his head before pointing at Lara. When she noticed his pointed finger, she looked at him and said, "I'm pretty sure she knows. You've been with him for 2 days, Lara. What's his deal?" Lara shook her head as she gazed at Patronus. "I've never seen him so quiet before. I guess he needed some peace or something." "Sounds like he's in over his head," Reyes said softly as she cared for Wroth, heroic or not. Sam turned to face Reyes after hearing her remarks. "You're just upset because he carried you with one hand, and he clearly didn't like you blaming Lara." "Is that true?" Wroth inquired, looking at Reyes, who turned her head away. "Why?" Wroth snarled slightly as he positioned himself against the tree. "If you don't have a reason, then leave Lara out of this. It's in the past, so let's move on and come up with a plan without blaming others."
"He's right," said everyone except Patronus, who listened to the Avenger. "The crash is in the past, and team morale is now at an all-time low, as I can see." Reyes couldn't help but feel bad in the moment. "But now we must all work together from here. Teamwork is an absolute necessity. If we watch out for each other and support each other, I assure you that all of us will be home."
As the squad was motivated by Captain's words, Naruto carved a smirk on his lips. He suddenly felt a pull in his head, a persistent indication that his colleagues wanted to speak with him. "Kurama? What exactly is it?"
"After this whole thing, we should leave this dimension," Kurama told the blonde, who seemed unsurprised. "We've been here since April, and there was no sign of a sealing key's power here, but don't lose sight of our main mission." Their main aim was to locate the 4 sealing keys and return them to his home dimension in order to vanquish the Shinju. They had one so far, and there was no emission of a sealing key's power anywhere on the Earth in this dimension. The ninja let out a growl. "I haven't forgotten that at all, Kurama." He rapidly controlled his anxiety as his senses ignored the rain lashing against his body. "But you're right, you haven't sensed a power in 7 months, and we're just wasting our time here. Once this is over, we'll leave in a couple days. I guess that's the end of the Brotherhood, huh?" His Jinchuriki sighed. "I like that Connor, and honestly, I respect his people and their order. To be seen and chastised by the public as killers and monsters without their allies and close friends, and to continue fighting for freedom. That's far above what the average human can ever do." "That's a lot coming from you," Naruto replied, smirking with his birth fellow. "To be honest, I'm not really going to miss this world."
"You say that now, but I wonder if you'll have a different answer 4 months from now." Kurama smirked as Naruto exhibited his blank stare. "You know exactly what I'm talking about." "No, I don't," Naruto replied defensively, blushing slightly. He was soon not alone as Lara took a seat next to him, drawing the ninja out of his trance. "Do you require anything, Lara?" Lara spoke in a weak voice, nodding. Thank you so much for saving Wroth," she said repeatedly as she rested her head on Patronus' shoulder. "I'm not sure what I would have done without him." probably be even more badass than you are now. The two laughed as Lara disengaged her head in order to wipe her tears. Though I'm sure you can because we're on this island with those Solari around, Patronus joked. Probably, Lara replied, staring up at the skies before returning her gaze to Patronus. Hey, are you a mutant? She asked quietly, not wanting anyone else to overhear. Patronus almost lost his cool when she asked him that surprise question, but he immediately recovered as he glanced at her, seeing that she wasn't going to let this go. *Sigh no, I'm not, he replied. I can't tell you much more than that, Lara. After everything we've been through, you don't trust me? Lara questioned as she stared at him in astonishment. The ninja snorted at the glaring Croft before motioning her body to go. He stopped her from rising up by placing a hand on her shoulder. But I can tell you something, and you won't believe me. Lara gave him a puzzled look. After everything we've seen, you doubt I'll believe you? She sneered, reflecting his words back at him. Like you said, you won't believe unless you have facts or evidence, Patronus laughed, dismissing her use of her words against the Croft. Smartass. Back at you, Patronus replied before exhaling a deep sigh. A few years ago, my father, an archaeologist, discovered a map riddled with clues, Lara said, despite her current attitude. The map led him to an ancient tomb in Nemea.
As Patronus proceeded, Lara's eyes widened and she held back her thrill at the insinuation. After very, very close calls with death and all, he discovered Greek period pottery and tapestries, but the one thing he took from that place. He glanced at Lara's eyes as she seemed to have worked it out. It was the armor of Hercules himself.
Lara finally said, bullshit, leading Patronus to squint owlishly. There's no way your father found and gave you the Nemean lion's pelt. How else do you explain my being unharmed by that machine gun or anything since we've been together on this island? Patronus replied before realizing who he was speaking to. I told you that you wouldn't believe me. That was when Lara knew he wasn't joking. She had been listening to his tone the entire time and had picked up on no signs of deception. Could he be wearing the pelt of a mythical monster beneath his costume? It explains why he was unharmed, yet in today's society, there have been many technological breakthroughs in body armor. Alright, I'll believe you. Patronus laughed heartily. You enlighten my heart. Except for the occasional thunderclap, the two remained in blissful silence. What are we going to do? The helicopter has been shot down, and I don't think a third attempt will succeed, Lara remarked as her mind quickly repeated the words both she and the hero had heard years before. No one ever leaves. The voice? Patronus inquired. I did say that the storms are being manipulated by someone. Lara stood up and nodded, urging Patronus to do the same. The storms, they're linked to the Sun Queen's power. Did she have such power? Patronus questioned. Lara gave a slight nod. Remember I said Himiko might be alive? The archer nodded again. What if she's the one who's causing these storms, alive and well? Lara sighed and shrugged her shoulders. Perhaps, but I can't say for sure. The storms are what's keeping us from leaving, she said, unrolling the parchment she had taken from the fortress. The monastery has a ritual chamber. I remember. Lara continued her observations verbally. If that's what the Stormguard are protecting, the solution to stopping the storms has to be in there, she said, pointing to a specific location on the map. There's a secret river entrance where we can take a boat inland to the ritual chamber. There is one problem, though. We don't have a boat, Patronus pointed out. The remainders of the Endurance, specifically Reyes, interrupted their workout.
That old PT boat on the beach, I should be able to fix it up, said the crew's second member. But we can use it to escape the island instead.
Patronus let out a big sigh that she could hear. If you've been listening to our conversation, you've probably heard about the storms and everything. That something's controlling them, snorted Reyes, rolling her eyes. Both of you need to get some sleep. This time, Lara entered. You don't get it, Reyes. The storms knocked down our transportation out of here twice, and Mathis mentioned that his attempts to escape by sea failed. She's right, Matthias did say so, Sam backed up her claim. I'm not dying here, exclaimed Reyes, stunning everyone in the room. I'm fixing the boat, and we're leaving.
Patronus was standing in front of her. And what, pray tell, will you do once the boat's fixed? Reyes was ready to say something, when the ninja stopped her. When the waves crash down and destroy the boat, we'll be left with nothing to get out of here, and that'll be on you.
I don't need this from a rookie hero who no one has ever heard of, Reyes retorted as she locked gazes with the cloaked figure.
Captain intervened to separate the two. But I did it. Patronus here saved Boston's mayor and his family, reduced crime in the city for the first time in a long time, and
I've been hired, Patronus concluded for the Avenger, shocking everyone even more, by Sam's father. He came to me personally to save all of you here. He glanced directly at Reyes, who got uneasy after a few moments. Should I tell her father that you wanted to escape the island and endanger everyone, including Sam, despite the storms and raging oceans that were bringing down any vessels in the area? Reyes was taken aback. He was playing her and making her look like the evil guy in this situation.
aside from that, Captain Patronus gave him a sharp look. S.H.I.E.L.D has already sent an aircraft to this island, but do you want it to get shot down by the storms as well? Reyes swallowed. We have a chance to destroy whatever is controlling the storm and get off this island.
Everyone remained silent until Roth eventually voiced his viewpoint. I say let's go ahead and do it. Roth. Reyes exclaimed in surprise. They're right. We can't leave yet, Roth said as Sam, Jonah, and Alex grumbled about their options. Captain will stay with us while Lara and Patronus take the boat inland. Sounds like a plan. Let's get going. Patronus led the way, followed by Lara, and the rest quickly followed. TTIIPMXTTIIPMXTTIIPM Yamatai's shipwreck beach. Thanks to the early morning sun and broken clouds, the entire company finally made it to the beach where the wreck of the Endurance floated close the coast and its numerous components scattered the sand. Naruto had also discovered other wrecks of various types of ships from various ages, including a galleon and a World War II submarine. With everything he's seen with the fortress, torii, and structures they've observed, the island has been at least since the ancient ages of Japan, and possibly even longer. When they arrived at the beach and saw the described PT boat, Reyes, Sam, and Jonah proceeded to work on its engine, while Alex went to obtain tools from the Endurance wreck to help fix the boat. Naruto calculated the position of the sun and determined that 30 minutes had passed since their arrival, which made the ninja nervous. He wasn't alone in this. Lara approached him, as did Jonah, who was standing next to the hero. What's wrong, you two? She had just returned from a damaged galleon ship, where she had retrieved rigging known as a block and snatch to aid in the rebuilding of the boat. Patronus said, "It's your computer friend." Jonah looked at Lara before looking in the direction Alex had gone. Alex should have been back by now. Asterisk ratatatata asterisk, ratatatata, ratatatata, ratatatata. Everyone went on the defensive as a panicked voice begged for assistance. They calmed slightly when they recognized Whitman's voice, while Patronus and Jonah searched the perimeter for Solari but found none. Even Naruto's Kitsune sense couldn't find any in the forest. How many are there? Reyes questioned, looking around the trees. Whitman shook his head, gasping for air. I'm not sure. Are you hurt? Sam inquired, concerned. I couldn't see anyone, Jonah said as Patronus nodded and cast a suspicious glance at Whitman. The ninja listened to Whitman's narrative about scaring the Solari away with his rifle and sprinted for kilometers as he was going to rebut it when Lara did it for him. And you don't appear to have broken a sweat, Lara replied suspiciously. Whitman wiped his brow. Must be a lot fitter than I thought. You could have led them straight to us. Like back at the palace, Lara observed as Whitman stammered slightly. Jonah and Reyes were both taken aback when they heard that. What? Reyes inquired. That wasn't how it was, Lara, Whitman said, but observed that both the cloaked hero and Lara didn't believe him, pushing him to confess. They said it was the only way they could keep you and the others alive. Patronus pointed to Whitman with his fingers snapped. I knew it. I knew something wasn't right at the time. I tried to warn you, Whitman said hurriedly, hoping for pity. Patronus approached Captain and whispered in his ear, we should keep an eye on him, he's already proven to save himself. I agree, the Avenger said as Reyes threatened Whitman with a kick in the teeth if he didn't keep silent. However, if we are to get off the island, we must work together. The camouflaged ninja let out a displeased groan. Something about him still bothers me. Lara started walking to get away from Whitman for a little while. I'm going after Alex. Where is he? The engine room. Look, he can take care of himself, Lara, Reyes replied, attempting to persuade her not to leave. But Lara refused to listen to her. Good. Then we'll be back soon, she said, pausing to look at Patronus. Well, are you coming, or what? What do you think? Patronus joked as he jogged beside the archer to her. Until Jonah stopped them in their tracks and seized a nearby contemporary bow. During Seiko and Medusa's window browsing in Soul Universe's Tokyo, Naruto recognized the weapon from one of the shops. A compound bow was used. "Here, take this bow. I've been saving it for you since I found it," Jonah remarked, handing Lara the weapon. "It has a lot of power, and it can shoot an arrow through almost anything."
As Lara inspected it, the cloaked ninja gave an appreciative whistle. "Thank you very much, Jonah," she murmured graciously.
TTIIPMX TTIIPMX TTIIPM Patronus radioed Captain America and received a thumbs up, signaling the all clear before departing to find Alex. The duo's walk finished at a wreck with an anchor post that ran parallel to a water pillar with a rocky wall. "I wonder," Lara whispered as she fired a rope arrow at the rugged wall with her newly acquired compound bow. It remained stable rather than dropping, providing them some relief. They climbed the lengthy rope to the pillar and passed through the several wrecks that served as roadblocks while Alex spoke on the radio. "Okay, Reyes. I'm getting close to the Endurance," the couple said as they kept going. "Tell me exactly what you require." Reyes communicated via the comlink. "Alex, we were getting worried. Okay. I'm gonna need a breaker bar and the rest of my kit. I can't fix this boat without them."
"All right, I'm on it. Lara and that Patronus guy are on their way your way, and you should wait for them," Reyes emphasized at the end. The tone of his voice astounded Alex when he responded, "Lara. No, I got this. I'm going radio silence."
Patronus and Lara exchanged glances. "Alex, what are you doing?" the archer wondered. The duo arrived at a damaged building-like ruin after a sequence of building jumping, climbing followed by ziplining a Torii stationed on the beach when they heard voices. Solary voices.
"What did they say, and what's going on up there?"
"Some woman and a hooded freak busted out all the prisoners. Killed anyone in their way," his Solary brother responded.
"Damn, seriously, who in the hell are they?" As the Solary continued to speak, the couple moved gingerly around the wreck to avoid alerting them.
"I'm not sure. I think that woman came in with that new wreck. As for the hoodie, no one knows," stated the Solari. "She killed Vlad during the roundup."
"What, she killed one of the Russians?" exclaimed the startled Solary. His skepticism deepened when she mentioned Dmitri and Nikolai as well. "Holy crap, did anyone tell Boris?"
Patronus and Lara exchanged another look. "He's running the salvage operation on that ship she came in on. I don't think he knows what's going on."
"Damn, when he finds out his brothers are no longer alive." Patronus guided Lara up a wreck that served as an ascending staircase going to the large building before hiding behind a box. The couple launched their kunai and arrow at their heads as they climbed to the top and slid down a zipline that led them to an adjacent slightly lower cliff wall after the Solary were no longer facing them.
Patronus and Lara retreated behind a box as more Solary approached from a different cliff face before dispatching them with another round of kunai and arrow. They continued on their journey to the wreck by passing through a tunnel inside the cliff. TTIIPMX TTIIPMX TTIIPM Clifftop Bunker. Patronus and Lara were at the end of the tunnel when they discovered an astonishing bunker built inside a cliff. What a test for one of them. They squatted down a tiny tunnel leading to a large room after mounting the cliffside and entering the bunker through an artillery room. A Solary stood in front of them, so Lara crept up behind him and suffocated him with her compound bow. Patronus hastily hid the body before joining Lara behind a shattered pillar, where she was preparing her machine gun. The ninja gave her a nod, to which she responded, before launching 3 smoke bombs towards the middle of the room. What the hell? Intruders. The people in the center had little chance because Lara fired a grenade before randomly shooting shots. The explosion shook the area, and the Solary on the upper levels leveled their weapons at Lara's position. A Solary yelled out girlishly as Patronus tossed him off after he quickly climbed up to his spot. As Patronus rushed across the level, he took down more Solary with rapid takedowns, elbow strikes, and palm strikes. "Stay away," said the Solary as he desperately attempted to reload his weapon. Patronus approached his prey and threw him from the top floor, using the Solary as a cushion to break the fall. "That was simple," he said, giving Lara a thumbs up in a small chuckle. The assassin directed Lara's attention to the massive hole in the roof by looking skyward. "Going up?" The pair moved through the bunker, taking out any Solary that stood in their way. Lara leapt on one of them and twisted her body around till they were on the floor, holding him in an armbar grip and releasing only when the Solary's body sagged. Staring at her, Naruto just twerked the Solary's head to the side, knocking him unconscious while remaining alive. "Impressive, but your grip needs to be tighter if you want to put your opponent to sleep faster." Lara stared at the knowledge and nodded, subconsciously storing his instructions for future use. They returned to the main center area, but this time on the second floor, while more Solari approached from the other side, shooting fire as the two sprinted around to reach the upper floors. "Keep going, Lara," Patronus exhorted as he threw numerous shuriken at the same time. "Kasaka Ryu, Samadare Shuriken," says Kasaka Ryu. Lara was too preoccupied with climbing atop the suspended box close to the ceiling to notice the shuriken strike the Solari across their shoulders, legs, and arms, hearing them scream in pain. She was going to turn around when Patronus grabbed her shoulders.
"We can't afford to waste any more time," he said as they climbed to the roof and halted at another bonfire overlooking the Endurance wreck.
Lara fixed her gaze on the destination of their voyage, plainly worried about her companion on the inside. "What have you gotten yourself into, Alex?" "We'll find him, Lara," Patronus said, his hand on her shoulder. "We should keep moving, though." The pair followed Lara's rope arrow zipline to one of the ocean's rugged rock pillars before continuing on to another zipline that connected to the shipwreck. They descended from the zipline early and hid behind some cover while Solari patrolled the deck. Patronus and Lara nodded at each other as the former crept up behind a larger Solari while the latter nocked two arrows at the smaller ones. Patronus drove his pivot blade firmly into the Solari's shoulder with his palm over the latter's mouth, as Lara released her arrows at the last two through their backs. "Look at this, Lara," Patronus remarked as he tossed a contraption with gears inside. "Do you know what it does?" Lara nodded after looking at the captured device. "It's one of those rope ascenders, and I can use it to pull heavy objects wrapped in rope." "You're already thinking about exploring that place with the thingamajig, aren't you?" He got a shrug as Lara used her rope ascender and rope arrow to pull a lift crane close to them. The cargo on the lift collapsed a few minutes later and fell on a fragile piece of the deck, tearing a hole in it and allowing them to enter the boat. "Back here again," mumbled Lara. Patronus did not answer as they proceeded through the ship's tight corridors, but they did make a brief stop at what is presumed to be Lara's quarters. Before Lara looked in her locker, he noticed her grab a snapshot of herself and Sam in black gowns. "So much has happened," Lara marveled. Patronus nodded in agreement. "Every passing minute changes us for the better or for the worse," was one of his master's favorite sayings in the afterlife of his dimension. "Sure, let's find Sam before the Solari. Let's go ahead and do it." Patronus and Lara made their way down the dimly lit corridor where a Solari stood by a zipline anchor point. The ninja and archer used their concealed senses to locate another Solari on the other half of the ship, which they easily dispatched with the pivot blade and bow arrow before descending the zipline.
The pair dashed through many corridors before collapsing into a water-filled lower portion of the ship. "This is far too many baths for the both of us,"
Patronus smugly replied. Asterisk chuckle asterisk only you. The pelt beneath my robes protects me from the elements.
The Uzumaki Croft crew ultimately made it to the engine room, where they saw Alex, who appeared to be in a daze, inside a designated room. "Alex, what's going on? Are you okay?" Lara inquired, concerned.
"I'm trapped in here. It doesn't look good." Patronus looked around for another way inside the chamber but concluded it would take too long to get to Alex, so he took the easier route. "Step back," he instructed Lara, pulling tenkaichi from its scabbard and swiftly slashing the blade through the electrocution box. "Who are you?" Alex exclaimed, terrified. "Keep quiet," Patronus commanded as Lara cared for him. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry," Alex said to them, specifically Lara. "I didn't intend for you to come to my rescue. How often does a guy like me get to be the hero?" He received a knife hand chop to the skull, resulting in a yelp of pain and the appearance of a bump shortly after. Lara gave Patronus the "what the hell" look as his body indicated blank anger. "Seriously? Are you for real, Alex?" Patronus said before hurling a kunai at a Solari on a neighboring balcony, all while ignoring the fallen enemy. "Alex, just ask Lara out on a date. Don't jeopardize yourself or your friends."
As Patronus swiped his katana at the rubble, freeing him from the painful trap, Lara gazed at a blushing Alex for being called out for attempting to impress her. When another Solari fired a bullet into a gas tank, the boat shook violently, causing them to flee the shipwreck.
"Go, Lara. Go," Patronus urged Lara as she carried the toolbox on her back as he held Alex.
They came upon an ascending zipline that led back to the other half of the Endurance wreck, but an explosion blasted in front of them, sending the trio crashing into the wall. Lara swiftly rose up, but their path out was blocked by fallen rubble.
"Oh no. Alex said as well when he saw it. How are we going to get out of here now? Patronus looked around but couldn't come up with another option. The room they had left was flooded, and the passage was collapsing with every second spent looking for another escape, so he was left with just one option to save them. With his hand extended, the ninja commanded, "Give me your hand." Alex and Lara both stared at him strangely until the latter remembered his abilities from saving Grimm from the Solary in Shantytown. As Patronus cautioned both her and Alex, she hastily grabbed his gloved hand. "Take a deep breath, you two," Patronus instructed the survivors as they did so. A solitary piece of rubble was descending on their heads, when the trio vanished in a yellow flash. TTIIPMX TTIIPMX TTIIPM, minutes before bedtime, Shipwreck Beach, Survivors Camp. Grimm sat on a box nearby, playing with a tri-bladed knife in the air, while Jonah and Captain America sat around the fire cooking their catch of fish.
"What have you got there?" Grimm murmured, his gaze fixed on the knife. Woodman commented, "Never seen a knife designed like that in my life."
"This is Patronus' knife, and it was this knife that saved my life," Grimm exclaimed as he tossed the knife between his palms.
Jonah gave him a weird look, while Reyes rolled her eyes at the claim. "How's that?" Roth inquired, feeling better after some snooze. He teleported. Cue blank and unbelieving expressions from the rest of the gang, minus Captain. "It's true, he and Lara were on different platforms, and this Solary had me at knife point, bleeding me from my neck, and then..."
"Then what?" "He showed up in a flash of lightning," Reyes questioned as Grimm hurled the kunai into the air.
The falling trio of Patronus, Lara, and Alex crashed on the box, smashing it on impact, and there was a flare of yellow light above the kunai before Grimm leapt out of the path.
"What the hell?" exclaimed Reyes as she and the others were shocked out of their seats. "Phew." Alex sighed, astonished, as he tried to hold his stomach in position. "Is that what you two went through the last few days?" Patronus and Lara exchanged glances before responding simultaneously. "Pretty much, yeah. You two were completely insane." When her last meal threatened to escape, Lara's cheeks puffed out. "You could have warned us about the negative side effect." Patronus replied softly, "There was no time." "Lara, Patronus," says the narrator. The folks stated above heard their names screamed out by Sam, who hurried towards them. Captain and Jonah observed Alex's condition before assisting him in properly positioning himself next to Roth. Patronus sighed loudly as his joints popped from the tragic tumble. "Wow, that was something," the ninja said before reaching for his Hiroshin kunai and slipping it into his pouch. "Who the hell are you?" exclaimed Reyes as she ran at Patronus and grabbed the front of his haori. "You can teleport? Why the hell haven't you taken us out of here?"
"Because I'm limited," Patronus mimicked heavy panting, which Reyes overheard. "I can only teleport once a day because it consumes a lot of energy," Reyes said as Patronus continued to lie. "I just pushed that limit in order to save Lara and Alex from that sinking wreck."
"Reyes." Roth yelled at the woman when she wouldn't let him go. "Let him go. You're not doing anyone a favor by keeping him here. Let him rest. He's been through a lot." Captain approached the agitated couple and separated them. "I agree. Please take a seat, Ms. Reyes." The visibly terrified woman stared at the cloaked hero before leaving him and the Avenger alone. "That was interesting, Patronus. I knew you were more than meets the eye." "Don't count on it." Patronus stroked his shoulder as he took his seat next to Lara and ate a food pill, temporarily satisfying his appetite. "Oh, that's the good stuff." But before he could sleep, Patronus felt a bulge in his robes and pulled it out, revealing a book. "Lara, you should take a look at this." Lara snatched the book from Sam and began leafing through it. "Where did you get the book?"
Patronus replied, "I found it on one of the Solary's bodies when we were in that bunker. It's probably important, and since you're the group's archaeologist, I figured you'd like to take a look and maybe learn something about the storms."
Whitman stood up, as if outraged. "Excuse me, I'm the lead archaeologist here, not her. I should look at the..." He came to a halt when the tip of a blade was close to his boys. "However, I should let Lara here gain experience." "Alright, now sit down and shut up," Patronus said as he sheathed his blade. Lara and Sam, along with Jonah and Roth, laughed as their feelings towards Patronus improved with each passing minute. The hooded hero, for his part, chose to take a little nap after a long day. TTIIPMX TTIIPMX TTIIPM Yamatai is located near the research base.
After a much-needed rest, the hooded hero and Lara were on their way to the mountain's research base. According to the book he discovered, the Imperial Army discovered a means to manipulate storms in order to win the war in 1944, and that's where they'll find out. There were conflicting views or one opposed voice who threatened to abandon them.
Patronus and Lara were near the top of the cliffside when the former's touch screen beeped. Patronus, do you copy? Hey, Cap. You're making sure they don't leave, right? That Reyes is pretty adamant, the ninja replied. Equals, don't worry, I'll keep an eye on them, so stay alert out there. Equals. Likewise. They used Lara's rope arrow to cross a massive gap to another rugged cliffside and ascended to the top. When Lara discovered a book on one of the crates and quickly read it, Patronus noticed her anguish and put his hand on her shoulder. What's up? Lara pointed out to Patronus, this is Whitman's writing. God, he's gone insane. You should issue a warning to the others. Patronus sent another wink to Captain America, warning him about Whitman's impending betrayal. The pair resumed their journey to the visible research base via a trolley system supported by 2 large towers and a zipline that led to the lower section of the site. Patronus and Lara crouched as they climbed to the bottom level of the research base's entrance after hearing voices ahead. What the hell are we doing here? There's freaking Oni in that tomb. Calm down, murmured the other Solari, attempting to calm his comrade. The man gave us orders, and no one comes in or out.
Patronus and Lara exchanged nods as the former threw his rope dart at one of the Solari's shoulders and taunted him. Ah! Exclaimed the Solari before Patronus clotheslined him with the inside of his elbow.
Damn. Lara killed the Solari using her silencer-equipped gun, which she had modified at the beach. She was also armed with Roth's weapon, which was linked to her other leg for more firepower, which Patronus applauded loudly as he expertly threw shuriken at the final 2 Solari on balconies. The 2 were staring at the gate. We'll have to find another way inside, Lara thought, receiving a nod from Patronus as they quickly ascended the cliffside close to the gate to find another way inside. They made it to the upper level and entered into the artillery room, which housed a gigantic gun powered by Lara's rope ascender. Patronus and Lara waded over green-colored water, mounted a craggy wall, and slipped through a tight passage to the other side as they descended down a rugged wall within the research base. Be careful, Lara. Those 2 levels are pretty deep. And keep an eye out for yokai. Those Solari mentioned they were in here. I hear you. Thanks, Lara replied as they descended the 2 drops.
And they weren't the only ones inside the base. Oh shit, look at all those bodies, a Solari exclaimed, surprised.
Following that, the other Solari cursed him, keep it down. The Oni are here, exclaimed the first Solari, terrified. Yeah, so shut up about it, and watch out for the girl and that hood freak.
When Patronus noticed 2 of them in the corridor, he crept behind them and buried his extended hidden blades into their necks as they collapsed to the ground. Lara had pondered the meaning of the wrist-mounted weapons, but she was aware that they were effective at dispatching adversaries.
They're called hidden blades, Lara, Patronus explained as he displayed the golden adamantine blades to her. Very useful. Patronus flicked the blood off them before retracting the sword, and Lara nodded. Are they?
No, they're not for everyone, Patronus said, smirking as Lara pouted at him. As he looked at her, another thought occurred to him. But what's the deal with Reyes? Quote, I didn't mean to put you on the spot, but she's disturbed about something, like she wants to get back to something, Patronus sighed gravely as he realized what it was. Or maybe someone.
Lara gave a small nod. Her granddaughter. Patronus massaged his chin. She's afraid she won't see her again, he moaned, recalling a similar predicament with his own children and family. However, that attitude will get us killed.
But, I understand her pain and rashness, but we have to be careful. She hasn't seen what you and I have, Patronus said emphatically. Not only does she have loved ones waiting for her to return home, but we all do. True strength comes from others.
Philosophical much? Lara remarked, eliciting a small giggle from her companion. Patronus mumbled before shaking his head, not so much as it is literal. Never mind, let's keep going. He and Lara made it to an elevator shaft that broke in the middle of their journey. They made it to the first floor by cooperating in an apparent trick game with the bolts. When he heard the impact, a Solari exclaimed, "What was that? Hello? Hey, anyone there?" Patronus and Lara remained silent, further frightening the Solari. What the hell am I even doing here?
Patronus used Kitsune sense to locate 2 Kitsune, including the terrified Solari, in the tunnel ahead of them. He told Lara the number as they prepared their weapons for the impending battle before launching an attack on the two Solari. The Solari hardly cried in agony before their lives were taken by the pivot blade and arrows of the duo.
After concealing the dead, Lara took the lead while Patronus followed her through the base's corridors until they arrived at a gigantic ruin and temple at the end. "All right, this is it," Lara sighed. Patronus said simply, "Obviously." They ascended the stairs to see a skeleton dressed in full samurai gear kneeling in front of a painting with a katana dug into the stomach. Lara took note of the statues around the artwork. They were buried in Himiko's tomb. Patronus said with a tiny nod, "I remember. These statues. Warriors. They protected her." Lara reflected as her gaze returned to the painting. "Is this you?" she asked the dead samurai as she gazed at the mural. "Especially the man in the painting. Were you some sort of general?"
"Makes sense," Patronus said, grabbing Lara's attention. "This armor has all the hallmarks of a general, but the design is unlike anything I've seen," he said, giving credit to his children's mother, Seiko, who taught him in Japanese history. Political and military figures, as well as armor from each century, were included. The question is, why did he commit seppuku, and what was his biggest failure? Lara examined the skeleton and the sword carefully. "I'm going to take this out," she said, pulling out the sword, displaying a shattered blade. "It's lovely," she said, winced as her finger was sliced by the edge. "Still razor sharp."
"Be careful," the disguised Uzumaki warned as the Croft archer used her senses to detect anything strange about the katana. And Lara did as well. She fiddled with the pommel and discovered a concealed chamber containing a little message. She quickly unrolled the parchment and made sure Patronus read it as well because it was written in Japanese. "I have failed my queen. The ritual was corrupted. The priestess knew only death could save her and took her own life." As Patronus and Lara kept reading the text, dread filled their bodies. Now the first and last queen lives a half-life, a soul in a decaying body. Her rage became the storms and will not cease as long as her soul is bound to this earth. My Stormguard are sworn to protect her. They must continue, but I cannot. As Patronus pulled the note from Lara, she expelled the breath she hadn't realized she had in her mouth. The soul is imprisoned in a decaying body. This is what causes the storms. There's something different about the parchment, Patronus mused internally as he stroked his fingers over the scroll, searching for something inside. Unless it was meant to be hidden from individuals with normal vision. I wonder. He activated Kitsune's sense, and his eyes shifted hues to indicate this. Whoa.
"My brothers and sisters who find this letter. Many times I have written to you of my reports, of the Sun Queen. Often there were times where I had conflicting duties to both my queen and the order, but I urge you now as both the Stormguard general and fellow assassin to be aware of the one who trapped the queen. His power unlike anything I've seen dwarfed my queen's own, and his eyes rippled like the water being disturbed." Patronus fixed his gaze on the skeleton. He was an assassin. How did he do it? More crucially, the letter mentions the rippling eyes. According to the letter, Old Man Six Paths was in Yamatai during the ancient times, but if that's true, why didn't he save the priestess from death? Patronus. When Lara shook him by the shoulder, the cloaked hero jerked. "Haven't you been listening to me?" Patronus shook his head as Lara inquired. "I said we needed to destroy the body in the ritual chamber to stop the storms." She took out the map and looked for the spot on it. "How the hell am I going to convince the others?"
"We'll figure it out, and if not..." Patronus flailed his fists, which snapped. "Well, I'm sure they'll understand later." Lara gave him a deadpan look. "I appreciate the fact that you use words instead of your fists." Patronus shrugged before picking up the broken katana and placing it within his Haori's secret seals. When voices yelled in the chamber, she was ready to ask him about the sword. "Do it right now." The distracted couple was caught off guard as a set of charges damaged the entrance behind them. Following that, 3 more explosions occurred as Solari came from another door and started fire on them. "Don't let them escape." Patronus ran at 2 Solari and jumped at them, stabbing their throats with his hidden blades and knocking them down. Lara pulled out her machine gun and shot into the chests and heads of 3 Solari. When she saw an incoming grenade, she rolled out of the way as it burst, then fired one of her own back at the Solari. An explosion shook the chamber as a Solari tank approached her with a machete in hand. Lara accepted the challenge and charged at him with her axe. The tank swung his machete at Lara, but she slipped out of the path and landed behind his back, quickly plunging her axe into his back, prompting a terrible scream from him.
After finishing off 3 more solari with fast strokes from his pivot blade, Patronus watched Lara draw out her axe. Lara ran into him just as they were about to flee the research base.
Patronus saw they were back at the beach's border as they came out of the tunnel, being battered by the soft breeze of fresh air. Their brief reprieve was cut short when their radios began to broadcast gunshots. "Captain!" Patronus cried out with concern. "What's going on down there?" "Sam, Roth?" Lara screamed into her radio. Reyes was the one who responded to both of them. "We're being attacked. Return here, you two." Patronus and Lara then ran back to the survivors' beach in the hopes of arriving in time. "TTIIPMX TTIIPMX TTIIPM The shipwreck beach, come right here," Captain America yelled as he slammed his shield into the final solari. The remaining solari had already retreated, but in smaller numbers. They were 30 when they arrived at the shore, but owing to Captain America's military training and direction, that number was reduced to 1/3. Reyes, Alex, and Jonah kept firing at the retreating solari's backs, expecting to take more of them out, but the Avenger ordered them to stop. When the party heard something behind them, they whirled around to see who it was, only to see Patronus and Lara standing there. "Lara, Patronus." As the aforementioned duo exited the boat, Roth and Captain both cried out. Patronus was the first to lift his arms for the SIT representative. "What the hell happened?" "There's no sign of them," Lara stated after taking a brief check around the camp. "What happened exactly here?" Jonah was the one who responded. "During the attack, Whitman kidnapped Sam and they vanished." "What?" Patronus retaliated by punching the boat next to him, frightening the survivors. "I knew that guy was trouble the second he came back." "He's taken her back to Matthias," Lara replied quietly, realizing. Captain America let forth a mournful sigh. "I kept an eye on him, but the solari surprised us." "You did the best you could, Captain," Patronus responded gently. "Thanks to you, everyone here is protected. Now all we have to do is save Sam. We could leave right now." Reyes made the proposition. "The boat has been repaired. We should seek assistance." Lara made a shaky motion with her head. "I'm sure they thought the same thing." She was referring to the solari. Reyes responded in kind. "You were right about Whitman, but you've witnessed the storms. They go after any crat who comes close." Lara stopped, unsure what to say next. Patronus nodded at her, ordering her to inform them of all they knew. There were scientists here during World War II, and they believed the storms were controlled by something in a ritual chamber near the monastery. Patronus observed Reyes' doubtful expression, but it was not as hardened as previously. The rest of them, especially Captain America and Roth, were paying attention to her the entire time. Lara continued to speak. "Look, I don't have all the answers, but Sam, I know it's connected. And if we try to leave without knowing why, we'll all perish, like the pilots." Patronus walked away from Lara and the others as they tried to persuade Reyes to believe the archer after hearing something in the woods. Captain America accompanied him because he, too, suspected something was wrong in the jungle. Patronus, "Yeah? How many? Tell them they need to get on the boat right now." Patronus responded by drawing tenkaichi from its sheath. The captain turned around and addressed the crew. "Roth, get them on the boat right now." Before they boarded the PT boat, everyone was pulled out of their conversation. After boarding, Lara noticed that neither Captain America nor Patronus approached the boat. "Patronus, I am Captain America," Lara cried out to them, but they refused to move from their stance. She was overwhelmed with dread as she knew what they were about to do. "Come along with us, do not stay."
That's when she noticed something coming out of the forest and heading towards them, and it would have hit one of them if Patronus hadn't chopped it down with his black katana.
"Get going." That was Patronus' command before a swarm of yokai emerged from the jungle and charged at the two heroes. Jonah stood stiffly while Alex wailed like a girl. Reyes couldn't believe what she was seeing as Roth soothed her with his touch while Grimm urged the monsters to come to them. But it was Lara who was taken aback as she stood there, watching the yokai of various sizes charge at the two-man wall. "All of you, get going," Captain America said as he deflected multiple yoki swipes before counterattacking with his shield.
Roth took their advice and began turning the key to start the boat. The engine, however, failed not start as the crew became concerned. Reyes awoke from her trance and began working on the engine to see what was wrong with it.
Meanwhile, Patronus and Captain America were bringing down yokai, despite their littered bodies never breaking through the duo's line of protection. 3 yoki swung their swords at Patronus, who answered with a swing of his own, severing their blades and skulls. Captain America grabbed a sword off one of the fallen skeleton warriors and slashed at another one who charged at him after blocking a strike with his shield. As Captain landed with various punches to weaken them, he spun, dodged, and rolled out from several yokai, whether they were Yoki, Onudo, or Onibai.
An Onudo hurled punches at Captain, who avoided them with his shield but was driven back with each strike. Captain America used his shield to lash out at a skeleton warrior who tried to target his blind spot, and he parried a sword strike with his borrowed katana.
Patronus jumped and ran on the skeleton warriors' heads like stepping platforms as he swung Tenkaichi downward, cleaving an Onudo in half. Seeing the Avenger surrounded by yokai, he spun around like a spinner with a wind chakra-coated Tenkaichi. Futon, Ninja no Ken, says Futon. The whirling assassin chopped, slashed, and cleaved the yokai around the couple, but the larger ones kept their distance, afraid of the human. Captain America deflected a katana strike before cleaving a yoki's head with the edge of his vibranium shield and dismembering another skeleton warrior around the joints. Lara glanced at the two heroes who had slaughtered a variety of yokai that she had never heard of before. She had spent her entire life learning about diverse civilizations, languages, and mythology, but it was only on Yamatai that she discovered that everything legendary was true all along. Lara's eyes were drawn to a skeleton warrior preparing to stab Captain America's vulnerable back when she immediately knocked and launched an arrow straight at the yokai's skull, effectively killing it. Patronus and Captain America returned her gaze, with the latter saluting and thanking her for the rescue. After witnessing her actions, Roth, Alex, Jonah, and Grimm provided cover fire for the heroes, assisting them in taking down the lesser yokai while Patronus and Captain worked together to kill the larger ones, whether Yoki or Onudo. The mass-muscled yokai staggered backwards after its target severed both arms. Patronus grabbed the severed limb and smashed the Onudo against the body before swinging hard at the yokai's skull as the yokai stumbled back a few times. Patronus dropped the limb, unsheathed Tenkaichi, and stabbed the Onudo in the head. The yokai groaned loudly as it sought to shake the human from its form, but Patronus clung to him like he did to the Chief Toad's back when he first performed the summoning jutsu.
Captain America was not one to back down and let rookies show him up, as he drove his katana into a yoki's shoulder and bashed his shield into its face once more, stunning the demonic creature owing to his increased power. He swung his shield again, this time at the shoulder, severing the katana-wielding arm as the yoki retreated away, holding its miasma-leaking wound. The two heroes synced their finishing moves as Patronus twisted Tenkaichi's blade upward and Captain America slashed the yoki's throat with the edge of his shield. Lara and the rest watched in awe as the last two yokai heads were removed and severed from their bodies.
More footsteps were soon heard coming from the forests by Patronus and Captain America. "Hey, Reyes, is that engine fixed yet, or what?" the cloaked ninja exclaimed as he started to construct a Rasengan in his left palm.
His response came a second later in the shape of the engine idling, much to everyone's delight, as he hastily terminated the Rasengan formation. While additional yokai broke from the trees, the heroes dashed to the boat as Reyes piloted it towards the river route Lara described. Patronus launched 3 more explosive kunai at the yokai, giving them more time to escape as 3 distinct explosions sounded behind him before he and Captain America leapt on the boat. Reyes pushed the throttle all the way down the river channel back to the inland, leaving behind the horde of yokai that stood on the shore before retreating slowly back into the bush. TDIIPMXDIPMXDIPM. Morning. Mountain Pass, Yamatai Inland. The rest of the night had passed, but the gang was sailing near to the monastery's boundary. They made small chat, then Reyes inquired about Sam's kidnapping. "Do you really want to know?" Lara inquired of the skeptic. Reyes responded truthfully, "No, but you should still tell me. Actually, we're all here. There's the soul of an ancient Sun Queen trapped in a dead body." Lara notified her crew and Captain America, as Patronus was already aware. "It's her rage that's causing these storms. The storms will stop if we kill the body."
"Right," Reyes responded with skepticism. "And why does Matthias want Sam?" says the narrator. Lara responded by shaking her head. "I'm not sure. That is what frightens me the most. Look, I know this is a ridiculous plan." "Yes, it is." As Reyes spoke, Patronus rolled his eyes. "But for the time being, crazy is all we have. So, let's get started." As Reyes docked the boat near a small clearing, the group eventually arrived at the mountain that held the monastery. Lara examined her 2 rifles and the rest of her equipment until she observed Grim, Jonah, and Alex preparing their weapons as well. Jonah slung his shotgun across his shoulder. Let's go. No, everyone needs to stay and guard the main entrance while Patronus and I go after Sam. Much to her friend's chagrin, Lara stated. More people means more risk of being noticed. But, Alex attempted to argue with her, but Roth cut her off with a raised hand. She's exactly right, everyone. Roth grumbled, shakily standing. None of us will be able to keep up with her in terms of stealth and all. He cast a glance towards Patronus, who returned his stare. You hear me, you keep her safe in here. Captain America took a step forward to announce his arrival. Neither of them is going there. I am as well. Sam is also under my care.
Lara would have argued with Captain America, but after witnessing him defeat yokai, she understood he was a force to be reckoned with. He certainly lived up to his name. She'd never acknowledged to anyone except Roth that the Avenger is the second person she'd have, with the first being a stranger who irritated her.
The Croft Archer persisted in her logic. Besides, I need all of you here to take out as many of those cretins as possible. It won't simply be the Solari. Others will follow. She paused with the final few sentences.
What exactly do you mean, lad? Grim posed the obvious question.
Patronus spoke for her. Samurai. The Queen's Stormguard, most certainly.
Anything that's not me, Patronus, or Captain America, shoot it. Lara was adamant. The Endurance's crew huddled together as Jonah prayed for the success of Lara's mission and her safety, as well as Patronus and the captains. After that, Patronus, Lara, and Captain America continued their ascent towards the monastery, determined to save Sam at whatever cost.
Unbeknownst to the ascending trio, 2 separate figures representing a little child in the Vulpine category looked at them from the opposite mountain adjacent. If they had looked attentively, they would have realized that their gazes were focused intently on the hooded ninja's back. To be continued.
That's it for this part, guys. Thanks for listening to this video. I hope you did enjoy the part of the story, and if you did, like, share, and subscribe for more. And thank you all for helping support, and have a great day.